Our next speaker is Aigerim Shilibekova, PhD candidate in Education Technology and Learning Design at the Simon Fraser University and Associate Professor at the University of Canada West. Their talk is on Localized Intelligence, designing an AI-enhanced OER course for faculty development in a low-resource language context. You're welcome.
Okay. This one. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here this late after so many papers, wonderful papers. Thank you for sharing a lot of thought-provoking presentations. I'm extremely happy to be back in Cambridge almost after 12 years. I was a postdoctoral researcher here at Harvard back in 2013 and 2014. And actually, I often found myself crossing the river, attending some of the lectures here at MIT. So it's always great to be back now as a presenter. And special thanks to the organizers and hosts of this summit. And actually, I also wanted to share a quick moment of yesterday. I was at the Coop bookstore at Harvard Square, and it felt nice to still have a membership, even 12 years later, and use the discount to buy some books, especially in the current economic reality. It felt nice. Today, I come here from Canada. As Mark introduced, I just recently was promoted to the full professor of strategy in the MBA program of this University of Canada West, a small private business school in Vancouver, but where I also led some institutional and pedagogical initiatives, founding the Center for Teaching Excellence, and recently assuming the role of AI pedagogy lead, helping faculty to navigate the integration of AI into teaching practices and everything else related, all about AI these days, even though I'm learning myself. And also, I'm currently almost completing my second PhD in educational technology and learning design. As a third-generation educator, I think I have a special love for teaching. So this talk today, the research I will be sharing today, is a sort of central piece of my current doctoral research. The earlier stage of this research was published as a rapid response paper by MIT AI+Open Education Initiative. And here I shout out to the Hansen Foundation that supported the initiative. And actually, that publication and the speaker series talk sparked a lot of interest, to my surprise, around the world. I'm still getting a lot of emails inquiring about the methodology approach, how we have kind of approached localization of not only AI tools, but some of the frameworks as UDL and some of the instructional design frameworks into a non-English low research context. So this is what I'm going to share a bit today. And yet, I don't want it to be boring kind of research paper you can read. I assume it will be published because this is what we were asked to submit. But rather to tell a story of what developing this AI-enhanced faculty development course for Kazakh-speaking professors, instructors, educators in Kazakhstan, my home country, and which is actually a low-resource, non-English, non-Western cultural context, and to share some of the also outcomes of the process. So we see there two tracks. One is about designing actually the course, which is in Kazakh, on UDL, using UDL. So it's kind of a meta-level UDL course, UDL-based course on UDL for faculty development, right, to train them how to be more inclusive, but with the integration of AI tools, how it may facilitate the process. So that's one track, the design part. And the other part is more of a research part, which was interesting for me. So I applied the design-based research methodology. Now, in addition to the jet lag I have from the West Coast, I also have some allergic cough. I apologize in advance if it will disrupt or may kind of disturb you. So we hear a lot about AI's potential to personalize learning, but the question that we often, I believe, skip or take for granted in the Western English language context is personalized for whom? Out of over 7,000 languages in the world, fewer than 100 are meaningfully represented in today's AI system, mainstream AI models or tools. And this means that most educators in regions like Central Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and some other parts of the world are operating in what I call algorithmic silence. In Kazakhstan, where this project took place, faculty who teach in Kazakh face a unique dilemma. Generative AI tools don't just kind of struggle with the language, they struggle with the pedagogy, the metaphors, the logic of local educational practices, combined not only the traditional sort of local pedagogical values and practices, but also coupled with the Soviet era pedagogy, and then post-Soviet era rapid integration into the European sort of higher education space. So many layers that have made both hard and easy for faculty to adopt some of the frameworks, but at the same time to build this particular level of resilience, or resistance and resilience so far. So the tools built elsewhere, trained on other contexts, on other data sets, and then exported to help non-English speaking faculty didn't always work well, but without localization, we've seen that inclusion became more performative and innovation became even more extractive. So as I believe Brookings Institution's research report indicated that, mainly all of the data that we have today, generative AI systems specifically, are predominantly trained in data-rich languages, or mainly English, right? So that is also pushed us to think about how we as native language speakers, native Kazakh speakers, could be training our own AI models, or at least facilitate that process of integration of AI and hopefully localization. I will skip just briefly indicating the barriers that we have identified to inclusive faculty development in non-English contexts: linguistic invisibility, design misfit, and low trust into to AI tools. But these are not problems that AI can solve on its own. So we realized that it was also not about only translation or the right translation or more human translation, more authentic translation, but rather design failures as well that we must solve with, not despite the machines. So the theoretical foundations were, in order to meet the challenges of building inclusive AI-enhanced learning in a low-resource, again, non-English context, we didn't want to begin with technology. We thought that more intuitively it will be to begin with learning. And with the frameworks that we have already been using and helped us understand learnings as a deeply cultural, relational, and situated activity. So this project draws on several foundational traditions. UDL, which by itself, when was first introduced in the early 90s, was designed for resource-rich Western context. So even the adaptation of the UDL framework by itself was a huge challenge in the beginning, like the translation of the UDL as a concept itself. So we made a not like quite a hard decision to keep UDL in English, but to add a Kazakh kind of translation of the concept to meet the expectation of the now management or administration of the university, where we piloted this project to introduce and help faculty to adopt some of the best practices, globally renowned practices, especially in the West. So we saw that while they can use AI tools to translate some of the existing studies or articles, the familiarity with those three words, UDL, would help them to at least identify which articles to translate, right, in the first place. Also, we use successive approximation model, or SAM, to guide the design process, which is, we found very reiterative and helpful to work with Kazakh faculty to co-design the content or improve the content together. Critical pedagogy and epistemic justice theories. And finally, although not always widely used in typical edtech conversations, our work is informed by cultural historical activity theory and indigenous knowledge systems. Both remind us that learning is not transactional, it's mediated by tools, embedded in communities, and shaped by historical practice. So in Kazakhstan, where identity language, which is agglutinative language, I'll talk about that, and learning are inseparable, these frameworks helped actually to design not just the content, but also build more meaningful pedagogical relationship, which was not initially the aim of our project, but was a pleasant byproduct, let's say. So together, all these foundations became the scaffolding for what I now call, for the means of my research, localized intelligence, a human-led, culturally aware, linguistically grounded approach to designing with AI. So what do I mean by localized intelligence? It's not a technical term. It's not another instrument. It's not another framework. It's rather, I perceive it as a principle that guides me to design for a non-English context, more of a design ethic, a reminder that intelligence, especially in the educational context, must begin with the context in the first place. So it's not enough for a system to be generative or adaptive. For educators in Kazakhstan, and I would argue maybe most of the countries in the world, an AI system is only intelligent if it knows how to listen. If it recognizes the knowledge systems, the languages, and the pedagogies of the people it claims to serve. So in this project, AI wasn't treated as a solution, or it was rather a tool, a co-designer, co-agent, one that needed guidance, tuning, and a lot of context. So most of our work was actually to train those AI tools that we used to make them more, I don't know if it's reachable at some point, but I believe contextual intelligence to increase that. Briefly on the architecture of what we built. So we structured the course around 4 interdependent layers, culturally situated curriculum. So we not only adapted or translated or grounded some of the existing cases, we also tried to elicit, to retrieve some of the cases from their practices. And it meant asking faculty, what does inclusive teaching look like here in your context, in your language? How do your students learn? What metaphors make sense in your classroom? Human in the loop design, AI tools like ChatGPT, predominantly because it was available and free, at least the simple versions. And yes, ChatGPT-based Kazakh chat helped us generate also some output that was reviewed, rewritten, and recontextualized. Kazakh first prompting, that was interesting, also another outcome where we didn't translate prompts. We actually wrote them directly in Kazakh using some sort of native syntax, local idioms, pedagogically accurate framing, and this dramatically improved the content. And finally, UDL-based pedagogy, which I already mentioned. I quickly want to jump to the results. wait a minute. So yeah, some of the examples, some of the translations, also how some of them were even unintentionally funny, how they were translated directly by tools. So the early results that we have already shared in that earlier paper indicated interesting outcomes for the asynchronous course that they are on the slide. I don't want to be reading them, time's sake, sorry. The interesting development on at the next stage was the implementation in other universities, and we started with another university which is in the other part, like southern part of Kazakhstan. So from the west to southern part of the same country with the same linguistic context, we still see some sort of need to like localize even like for that subcultural layer. That was another also challenge. So finally, key lessons. I would like to mention localization is not a luxury, it's foundational. AI needs critical human guidance. Institutions must build capacity because without the institutional support, this project and overall faculty development wouldn't take place. So it's important that we educate and also involve administrators and managers. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to connect. So, or after the session. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.